Hello, guys. Happy Sunday. Let's see here. Need some light. Awesome. Happy Sunday, everybody. It's good to see your faces. Oh, man. Look at my sideburn. Is anybody going to tell me that it was sticking straight out like that? Katie, are you laughing at me? Don't laugh at me. You guys would have let me do the whole call like this, looking like Krusty the Clown from Simpsons. That's what would have happened. Good, Ellen. You made me feel better with your hair sticking straight up. But this is unacceptable, so I'm going to tuck it. We're almost there. All right, guys. How's everybody doing? Good. Hold on. Let me make sure I can hear you. I always have a problem because, yep, I can hear you. So if you guys talk, if somebody talks, then I'll know for sure I can hear you. Let's see. Okay, I can hear somebody, so I know we're good. It's good to see everybody's faces. A handful of you guys
check.
Yes, thanks, Maureen. Appreciate it. I like to just make sure so that way if somebody stops and asks me a question, I don't miss it, just in case. It's good to see everybody's faces. All right. Okay, so quick announcement. Next week is going to be pre-recorded. So I'm actually going to be away. We're taking our family on a trip to Florida in preparation for Josh leaving this summer/fall on deployment. We're taking the kids to Florida and go to Disney and do some adventure. And so we leave on Thursday night and I'll be gone all next week and be back the following Sunday. So I pre-recorded your call for next week. So you guys will get that sent out by Brooke. And if you're looking for me, that's where I'll be. And if you see Coffee Talk and you're like, how is Christy doing Coffee Talk from her desk when I know she's in Florida? We'll just keep this secret between us. I can pre-record Coffee Talk and I can actually schedule the live. So it's going to say live and you're going to be like, I'm super confused. Christy is not at her desk. That is how I did it. Okay. So it's scheduled live. I'm not at my desk. So next week will be pre-recorded. And then the other announcement is that on February 24th, which is a couple Thursdays from now, we are going to be doing a mindset workshop for Fitme members. So if you have never gone through the original mindset 8-week program, then you should attend this. If you have gone through it, you don't need to, especially if you're already in 2.0, you do not need to attend. But if you have not gone through our original mindset stuff on Thursday, February 24th, we are going to be doing, instead of spreading out over 8 weeks, we're going to just do it in one workshop session. So it'll be 90 minutes. It'll be longer than our normal coaching call. So plan for that if you want to attend. There will be a replay, but I highly recommend attending live. You'll have a workbook that you'll be able to write your stuff down. If you hadn't, or some of you guys started the mindset materials, but then never finished it. If I'm talking about you right now, then you should attend that workshop. It'll be well worth your time. So save the date for February 24th. And I think that's it for announcements. So we can get right to it. Tonight's topic. Do you guys like that I released like what the topics are going to be for the Sunday calls? Is that helpful? Did you look at the list? If it is, just like give me a thumbs up. We tried to mix it up so that as we're going through nutrition, workout, exercise stuff, and also boundaries and body image, that we're kind of mixing it up. But if you're like, man, I really wish they would do a coaching call on this particular topic, then please shoot me a message and let me know. So I've been collaborating with the lead coaches on what these topics should be that will best serve everyone. But if you have a specific request, definitely let us know. And then I guess on that note too, don't forget that on Monday and Wednesday, you have access to group coaching calls. And these calls are specifically related to Monday is a movement call and Wednesday is nutrition oriented. And because these are smaller group settings, you really get hands-on attention from a lead coach with your specific challenge, what you're working on. And so I highly, highly recommend attending those if you can. So tonight's topic is how to get out of a meal prep slump. So I'm going to take a quick poll. So throw it in the chat. If you would consider yourself currently in a meal prep slump, post it in the chat if you think that you are, or a meal inspiration slump. Who put always? Teresa? Oh. Sarah said yes. Ellen said yes. Natika says definitely cooking the same stuff. Yep. Okay, good. All right. Definitely slumpy. Lisa, that's hilarious. Slumpy is a funny word. New ideas. Okay. Okay, good. Well, I'm glad that this is a topic then. We thought it was an important one. And so I'm glad that it is. First off, it's not weird. Before we get into how to get out of a meal prep slump, I have to give you the disclaimer. Disclaimer, it is pretty normal to find and build, and better than normal, it is a good idea to find 7 to 10 meals that you put in your rotation that you like, that you can kind of mix up, but are basically the same. So, and I think I have to put that as a disclaimer first, because I don't want us to have the impression that we should always be mixing it up. In fact, that can actually make things harder when it doesn't have to be. However, when we get bored, and I've noticed that there's a couple different kinds of people. There are people who are like, I'm fine eating the same thing all the time. I just want to have a predictable thing. And other people that are like, I get sick of having something 2 times even. I need to mix it up. And so, but either way, sometimes our routines can get stale. So the purpose of tonight's call is to give you some strategies if you are in a meal prep slump, or you are in a pretty good groove. You've got your 7 to 10 repeats, but you're bored. You need to mix it up a little bit. So who right now, and again, I'm going to ask you to do this in the chat box, who currently has a solid like 7 meal rotation, like kind of like your dinner rotation? These are my family's go-tos. This is what works for me. This is Fitme plate. Like I can already check that box. Okay. Ellen said nope. Because I think it's going to be an even split, because I bet some of you have this and some of you don't have this. Chicken times 7, Katie. Coach Brittany says she's got it. Who's ever on their iPhone says yep. Nicole raised her hand. Okay. And Paige just made hers. Maureen. Okay. So I figured it would be an even split. And so however you use tonight's call, that should be our minimum goal. Is as we're trying new things, the goal is to come up with this, 7 to 10 rotation that we can rely on. And so that as we're doing our grocery list, it becomes easier and more predictable. Ellen put in the chat that I need to start meal prepping so I can be in a slump. That's a good mindset to have. You want new problems. That's what I always like to say. Give me better problems to have. And that's a better problem to have. If you have your 7 to 10 that you're doing all the time and you're bored of it, now you have the better problem of being in a slump. So that's awesome mindset. Rachel said you have way more than that, which is a blessing and a curse. Okay. So let's start off with, how do you create that 7 to 10? So if you're kind of not even in a slump, you're just needing inspiration. My advice is always to use the rule of 3. And in the rule of 3, that means you are trying no more than 3 combos in a given week. And so if you are like, I don't know what I'm going to try this week, I would encourage you to pick 3 from the Facebook group. So go in there and look. If you go over to media and you click on pictures of media, you can see Fitme plates galore. And now we're doing some of those inspiration posts. But even if outside of that, if you are starting at 0, you don't have your 7 to 10, I would go straight to the media, look at the pictures and start scrolling through and see what looks good to you. If you're like, hey, I could be a taco person, you could go towards that. If you're like, oh, I could be an egg roll in the bowl kind of person, that sounds like reasonable, I could go with that. Oh, I like the idea of steak and broccoli. That could be it. And again, you're picking 3. No more than 3 to try this week. No more than 3. So that is, but you need to go look at them. So step 1 is go look at them. Step 2, pick which 3 you're going to try and then write them down. If you're not sure, how to season them, this is where we're going to use our community and we're going to use our coaches to actually help you, because I could tell you the way that I do it, but it might not even be the best way. I don't necessarily consider myself an excellent seasoner, but we've got a bunch in our community. So if you are like, hey, I like the idea of doing fish tacos, I think I would like to put that in my rotation, but I have no idea how to season the fish, then I want you to post it in the group or in your Marco Polo group or directly to your coach. I would like to try fish tacos in my rotation. I don't know how to season it. I want to try it. So this meal prep thing that we're talking about will not happen accidentally to you. It will not be an accidental, this is automatically happening. For the people that have that 7 to 10 rotation that you're already using, you probably worked to create it. You figured it out through repetitions and through trying. And so it takes a little bit of work to get it. But then once you've got something going, it's much easier to maintain, just like anything, right? It's hard to get the boulder rolling, but it's way easier once it's going. Okay, so we're using our Facebook group for inspiration. Then we're going to use our community to help us figure out how to season it and make it taste good and to try it. And then you've got to try it. So you actually have to order it and make it this week. What part of that is the hardest for you? The choosing, the asking for help on how to season it or make it taste good, the buying it, or the prepping it? Which part's hard for you, or none of it?
I would say that the actual making the food is the hardest part.
What makes it hard?
Well, like getting all the ingredients isn't a big deal. Getting it here and having to chop and having to put everything together. I keep it super simple for that fact. So if it's a simple recipe like that egg roll in a bowl, I could not believe how quick that was. Mm-hmm. I will make that. That is a staple now.
Will you share the version of egg roll in a bowl that you made that is easy and a staple? Will you share that?
Katie's. She just posted that in the group. Perfect. Like 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Real like a bajillion years ago, not like 6 months ago, that has recently like popped back up in the group because I think newer people wanted egg roll in a bowl recipe.
Mm-hmm.
I can it.
Yeah, tag it. And so that's what I want us to do, is kind of like, as we're even talking and brainstorming on this call, I want to snag some of these and we're going to tag them so that we can easily find them, and it makes this easier. So Lisa, when you say that it's hard to actually put it together, you're not uncertain of how to do it. It's the time constraint. You just want it to be easy to throw together.
Yeah, I like things that are really quick, and I like things that incorporate a protein in multiple meals so that I don't have to prep too many of that. Like I can use the chicken for so many different things.
Okay, I was just going to ask you what you mean by that. So you're saying like you take chicken, you put in the Instant Pot, and you make shredded chicken, and then you use that shredded chicken maybe for taco bowl one day, but you use it shredded chicken for a salad another day, for something else. So the protein gets made and then you can just mix and match.
I am way more successful if I plan everything out, prep everything that beginning day of the week, because I'm less likely when I come home to I don't want to cook after I've been to work.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the prep, but I don't like how long it takes.
Gotcha. I think that's another like really good tip to get out of a slump, is maybe thinking about how to prep your protein in a different way. So I mean, I remember at the Naval Academy, so I'm not even lying to you guys, at the Naval Academy, if you went on a diet, which is basically like they thought you weren't going to make weight, they would put you on a diet and they would send you to the diet line. I'm not lying here. And you know what you got? Boiled chicken, hard boiled eggs, and soy milk. They would give you like a, half gallon of silk soy milk, like 2 boiled chicken breasts and some hard boiled eggs. And that boiled chicken, I will never forget it, because it had all the like goo coming off of it and it came out of a giant chicken water pot. It was so nasty. So anyways, not all protein tastes good. If you just boil it, it's going to taste nasty. You're going to remember it forever. On the other hand, I love chicken, but you got to do something with it. So using some basic things like maybe taking salsa and adding it to the chicken, immediately easy, tastes good. Using I think Coach Lauren, when Coach Lauren and Coach Leah were prepping chicken for the Fitme events, and they were using that Hidden Valley powder like for ranch, but they were mixing it with other stuff, garlic powder, onion powder, made chicken taste incredible. So there's lots of different ways to make your proteins taste good. And that can also completely change how a meal tastes.
Very rarely is it boiling it.
Very rarely would you boil it. I only boil chicken now if it is in when we do homemade ramen. And I actually like boil the chicken thighs in the broth. Mm-hmm. That's totally different though.
I think the struggle for me now, Christy, I think all of it at one point or another has been a struggle. But you get better through practice. And I would say for me right now, it's probably the seasoning. I tend to always use like the same thing, whether it's chicken or pork or turkey. And so it's coming up with, I guess, just different seasonings.
Mm-hmm. Let's brainstorm a couple together now. Because again, we're not like reinventing the wheel here. We're going to keep things like fairly simple, but even a new seasoning combo can really change the game. So let's talk about if you have a favorite seasoning combo. What do you mix together to make food taste good?
Well, it's just probably people are going to go gross. Initially, it was literally only and always just Lowry's garlic salt, period, nothing else. And then at the Fitme event, Lauren and Leah and everyone had the little seasoning stations, or Lauren did. And the garlic powder and the onion powder, and just looking at like the sheer quantity that she put on the chicken, I was like, oh my God, okay. So I came home and now I'm like, oh, I don't even need all that salt. You can actually get the flavors from the onion powder and garlic powder. I use paprika sometimes, but I mean, it's pretty much just that.
Mm-hmm. So you went from garlic salt only to now you're using more seasoning like garlic powder plus onion powder and season it more with those and less with salt. Yep. Nicole, you had your hand up in the chat. What were you going to share?
I'm sorry, I didn't know I had it still up. I raised it for one of your questions and I didn't put it back down. I'm going
to call on you because I already know that you can season food well because you've already told me.
I was going to say, she's
so
excellent at seasoning, so start talking.
I know, so tell us, Nicole.
Yeah, exactly. Give us the secrets.
Yes, I love to cook because I love to eat. And my seasoning, I get excited in the seasoning aisle at the supermarket. And I think a few months ago, I did share a graphic that showed how you can make a couple of your own seasoning blends. So for chili, for Mexican, for Creole, for Italian seasoning, because a lot of times I find the pre-made blends have a lot of salt and they overcompensate that for flavor. So I make a lot of my own sauces. Like today I have some short ribs in the crock pot right now, and I made my own Thai chili sauce to go with it. So I do a lot of flavor additives with fresh herbs and pepper. I like spice. And luckily 3 out of the 4 people in my house do too. So mommy's on the call. Okay. And so, but I use garlic powder and onion powder are like equal. They're like the twins. I put that ish in everything. So that if you don't have those two, I recommend putting them in because it just adds flavor to any meat and veggies as well. Sorry, my little guy is down.
It's totally okay.
He wants to say hello.
Maybe we could track down that graphic that you shared of how to do some combo seasoning blends. But I think your point is good, which is that adding flavor to food, whether it's protein or the veggies, is the game changer. And so if we're thinking about flavor, there's a couple things that stand out in my mind. And Nicole mentioned some, and I think a couple other people have mentioned them. So flavor wise, you can really enhance flavor with citrus. So limes or lemons can make things taste really, really good. So citrus is one, garlic, ginger, definitely going with even things that have some heat to them. So like you can get that Thai chili kind of chili sauce. You can add that to certain things. It changes a lot of the flavor. It's garlic chili sauce. I use that quite a bit. What else do you guys like that adds flavor?
Christy, I put
I had my pantry open, or my spice cupboard open.
Here.
This I got at Costco. It's amazing. It's really good on vegetables. This is a really weird looking thing. It looks old, like it got left on the grocery store shelf for too long, but it is delicious. And it has a little bit of cornstarch in it. So if you put it on chicken, when you like pan saute chicken, it gives it a little like crust, not like a real crust, just a little bit of crispiness on the outside. This is really good.
What is that? We can't see that last one.
Oh, sorry. It is this.
Oh, garlic and herb. Uh-huh.
I know a lot of people really like Trader Joe's has a lot of seasoning blends that are really good. Kenzie's Spices is a great company that has a lot of different mixes. What I use this like my life depends on it. The garlic powder. And then, I was just gonna also show them, since you said it and I happen to be in my kitchen. This is what you mean.
Yes, I love that stuff.
Super tasty.
That's what I used today, actually.
That stuff
And I
is
like
great.
ginger. This ginger that's like in a squeeze tube is pretty cool too.
That is awesome, Rachel. Thank you for showing that. Another thing that mustard is great. Greek seasoning, Maureen said, really good. And fresh herbs add a lot of flavor. And so even just adding some basil, adding some thyme, oregano, dill, it can completely change your egg situation, adding fresh herbs. It makes it interesting and delicious. Leah, do you have your hand up?
Oh,
I've never seen everybody raise their hands before. This is new.
So this is, I had to figure out how to do it. I'm like, how do you raise your hand? So this is like not spices, but it does enhance flavor. There is, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of salt, fat, acid, heat. They
One
have
of the most beautiful documentaries that has ever been shot.
I agree. And they have it on Netflix. So it's just 4 shows, one on salt, one on fat, one on acid, one on heat. And it just talks about how these elements can make your food taste so much better, and like different techniques to cook, and like ways that acid like balances out other flavors. And I just thought it was like, I feel like I cook better just from watching these 4 shows. I feel like my food is more flavorful. And it doesn't make it any less, healthy or anything like that. I think it's a really cool also just to learn some like little small basic things that you can do with all proteins, all things to make food taste better. I don't know. I loved that set of documentaries. 4 shows. They're like an hour long. I mean, I know we all geek out on Netflix shows all the time. I know that we could make time to watch it. Worth it.
Katie Kreider is all over this. She is putting everything in the chat. And so she's like linking every single thing we're talking about in the chat.
nice.
Who was just saying something? I interrupted.
It was me. I'm sorry. I sometimes find people are afraid of salt. Salt is so important when you cook. And particularly like if you're transitioning your eating from more processed foods or fast foods or restaurant foods, and now you're cooking at home, if you avoid the salt, your food's not going to taste as good. And also, you've already cut massive amounts of salt out of your diet. It's okay to put salt on your food.
And learning about the
Unless
different
you have a medical issue.
Go ahead, Leah.
and learning about different types of salt that stick to food and how some types of salt are actually less salty. And I highly recommend it. It's like, basics of cooking that make your food taste good.
Christy,
Yes.
I was going to ask, I'm not sure who was showing us their kitchen, if that was Katie or
that was Rachel. It was Rachel Ostrander. Yeah.
So I loved that because it's like, oh, I probably had like 7 out of 10 of those. I literally have an entire cupboard of spices and a second cupboard with a shelf. My challenge is if I have like ginger and it's like, what do I mix with what? Almost like, you know how you make those beautiful Instagram with the graphics, and if you had like, shredded fresh ginger with some onion powder and garlic powder and this together seasoned on a protein is like thumbs up. Even if you had like 5 different things, or I don't remember, Nicole I think was talking about her seasoning tonight, the spicy. It's like, yeah, I don't know how to do that. Even if it's just mixing 2 things together. I don't want to go and buy like a store bottle sauce because they're so loaded with stuff. I love to make that kind of stuff if you can make it good. I just don't know what to put together.
I think it's a good. Go ahead, Ray. I was just going to say, I think part of what this will be is think about what things you enjoy eating. Because at the end of the day, healthy food should be enjoyable. That's part of, we're just eating. We're not doing anything weird. We're just trying to eat real food that we're prepping mostly at home. That's going to fuel our bodies. So everybody's going to be a little different. So if Paige, you're like, that sounded amazing, like what Nicole was talking about, then your actual homework this week is to find out how to create something that is that kind of flavor profile. Like, how do I make something that tastes like, Korean barbecue, and find the answer to that. Yeah. And then say, okay, well, I actually have 3 out of the 4 of those ingredients. All I'm going to get is one more thing, and then I'm going to try it. And so this will be where your money is made this week, is think about it, but then actually go find the answer, because we'll link and share and do all of this stuff, and we can tie each other to each other, because finding the answer, we can find it in our community for sure. But I think it'll be so exciting for you to share what you discover. If we're like here right now with meal prep ideas, what's going to happen inside of our community this week, if we all proactively go and learn something new to get out of a meal prep slump, and then we share it, it's going to be exponential, because then we'll be able to feed off of each other.
Yeah, I love that. Great idea.
I will often Google if I know what I'm shooting for. I like to cook. I'm a pretty good cook. If I know like what I'm headed toward, I don't like to follow, sorry, my water was on. I don't like to follow recipes super closely. That's not my jam. But I'll Google and look at a couple recipes and see like what kinds of things do people put in this thing, in this flavor thing. And then I'll use that more as an inspiration instead of following the recipe directly.
One of the things, Christy, that I do is that I keep a lot of base ingredients on hand so I can make up my own sauces. So like I keep soy sauce, I'll keep canned tomatoes or like a tomato paste. I'll keep ginger, the minced ginger, I think Rachel showed as well as minced garlic. So that way they're, quick go-tos that I can throw into, a stir fry, as well as, now I got to go to my pantry real quick because now this threw a brain, but fish sauce. I'll keep that, as well as sesame oil for a lot of like the Asian dishes. I'll keep those on hand, as well as balsamic vinegar, because that adds a lot of flavor, especially to certain meats and marinades. And I put in the chat that I do a lot of overnight marinades. I score whatever meat I'm cooking. And so that way the marinade can kind of penetrate into the meat, and I marinate it overnight. So that way that imparts a lot of flavor into the food in the meat when I cook it the next day. So I would be able to, maybe back off some of the sauce. And the other thing that I do is that I use olive oil and butter to enhance flavor as well. So just like tonight I made steaks, I put a pat of butter on top of the steaks, just as they're coming out of the oven, to help add to the flavor as well, to kind of as my fat. And then I'll drizzle my chicken with olive oil before I oven fry it. I use my oven a lot, a sheet pan, just because of the sheer quantity of the food that I'm making. And I'll use that to help kind of tenderize and crisp up the meat as well.
Mm-hmm.
I can talk food all night, so I'll shut up.
No, I want you. I love hearing how you do it. It's helpful. I mean, that's kind of why we're doing this, is to get inspiration and ideas. And what I really want you to think about, I want to make this as simple as possible for everyone, especially if you're someone who's like, I don't even have any really solid rotation yet. If you can just pick, I said 3 before, but even just one. If you're trying one new thing this week, one new flavor combo, one new thing, like, hey, I never tried to make egg roll in a bowl, let me try that this week. One is good. Or if you're like, I've never made fajitas at home, like, let me see if I can put that together and marinate my steak overnight. Just one thing that you try this week to mix it up a little bit, or you try a different mixture that you're going to put with your chicken in the crock pot. Try one. And if you're just overflowing with ideas, make a friend who's struggling with this. And again, start with what you like. If you don't like Asian food, don't start with Korean barbecue. Don't start with Thai chili if you're like, I don't even know if I like Asian food. Start with something you like. If you like that more like Latin flavors, go there. If you like more like barbecue flavors, go there. If you like more spicy and heat, go there. Pick what you like and go there. You know where I started? When I started mixing things up, you know what I liked? I liked McDonald's hamburgers. So my first bowls were a mixture of flavors of like ketchup and mustard, because that was the flavors that I liked to start with. And so start with what you like, but then you're going to turn it into something new and mix it up. And PS, like, a hamburger bowl is delicious. You just put a lot of like lettuce, you put some ground beef, you put peppers and pickles and all stuff, and you put ketchup and mustard on top, and it's amazing. So you can put that in your rotation if you want.
There was a moment that was kind of a game changer for me, and it happened before you named it, but you're the one who named it, Christy. And it started with COVID, so we'll see what happens. I ever have to like go back to work every day. But you said bring joy to your habits, and that makes it a ritual. And so that's what my Sunday evenings have become, is this ritual around preparing. I prepare a giant salad. Like, this is what I'm doing right now as I'm washing veggies. And after doing this for a few weeks in a row, it just all starts to become second nature. And I try to bring that joy to it, because it can get real old. Oops, I muted instead of turning my camera around. It can get real old cooking for kids all the time, and families, or even yourself, right? But if you can bring that joy to it and try to create a ritual around it, it makes such a big difference. So I'm super grateful that you named that for me, because I think it was developing. And then when you named it, I was like, that's what this is.
Mm-hmm. And I think joy can come from experiencing things with all of your senses. So again, if you're going to go through the effort of trying something new, no, mindful eating was one of our topics from a couple weeks ago, but by all means, like, put it on a plate, and look at it. If you chop up vegetables, like, take a second, smell those vegetables, taste the sauce that you're putting together, kind of experience it. And it doesn't have to be a long, drawn out process, but again, it's just going to hit different. Like Rachel was saying, you kind of enjoy it more, and it becomes a little less of a chore. Even if it becomes a routine where it becomes a habit, it doesn't have to be a chore. It can just be a part of your routine in your life. But this topic, I mean, this will never get old. We could do this in 2 weeks and still be learning new things, but we can talk about it all day long. You have to actually take action on this week. You have to pick something you want to try, get the stuff, and then try it. That is your target for the week. It's very simple. And if you're in a really good place with this, then your target is to help somebody else figure out one thing that they like, give them an idea or share a tip. Leah, your hand's up, right?
Yeah. Sort of thing. I was just thinking about this when Rachel was speaking. Like, the other thing I like to do that brings me joy to like prepping food and cooking food is like buying beautiful food, going to, places that have like a beautiful display of veggies and like getting beautiful and kind of looking at it like that, and like going to the meat counter and like seeing the like beautiful, pretty cuts of meat and thinking about like that. And then thinking about how am I going to like do justice to this beautiful piece of food and enjoy eating it and have it be like nourishing and all the things. And so I think sometimes we're just like, oh, we got to get a grocery order. You know what I mean? And it kind of takes like the whole like joy out of that. And so I don't know, if you haven't gone into the store in a long time, if you're always doing grocery orders, maybe like going into the store and just like seeing the beautiful food.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Does anybody have a final thought or question before we wrap up? Hopefully everybody's got at least one thing they're going to use. And there's a bunch of stuff in the chat. And so take a quick look before you sign off. Nicole's already volunteered to help anybody who has questions. And definitely reach out to your coaches, because everybody's got a favorite, right? And maybe that favorite can be in your rotation, and you might pull one from one person and then one from another person and then build up your personal rotation. Awesome. Sweet, guys. This was really fun. I learned some stuff that I'm going to use. And it's always an inspiration to kind of mix things up and take some joy in it, and know that we're doing this to nourish our bodies and to feel our best and to make life simpler potentially and more enjoyable. And we have to eat. And so we might as well enjoy it and not have to get boiled chicken in the line from the Navy. Thanks, Navy. Sweet, guys. Well, it's great to see your faces. If you need anything, just reach out. Otherwise, I will see you back in person in 2 weeks, and I'll catch you in the group. So talk to you later. Bye.